Ideas come from everywhere. Ideas make up a framework, pieces of a picture. And that picture, that idea, is how collective changes happens. I was on a flight from Chicago, or from Seattle to New York via Chicago. And no surprise to many of you, I had a 6-hour delay due to weather. So I decided, okay, it's time for a good book. And so I went into one of the kiosks in the airport, and I thought, end aisle, gotta be a good book. It was a book by Jim Clifton called The Coming Jobs War. Now, Jim is the chair of Gallup polls, which have been around for 75 years. And the big takeaway from this book that I found was that right now, if every corporation in the world doubled their employment base, we would not have enough jobs. And so he went around the world and he asked this question to every nation and to every demographic: what do you desire most? Wasn't a car, wasn't a big house, wasn't more money, wasn't a flat screen TV. It was a good job. Because with a good job, you can house your family, feed your children, provide health care, education. You can have pride, and you can have a place in your community. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot, but for those people who live in the lowest rungs of the ladder of prosperity, it's a really big deal. So this got me thinking. And I started looking at some of the issues in the world around women, income, jobs, and entrepreneurism. And I came upon a study in 2010 by Dun & Bradstreet. And the study basically says 104 million women in 59 global economies started businesses. That rose in 2012 to 127 million women in 63 global economies. Now, this sounds good. And if we look at this progression, we're going to increase more and more over the next decade. Let me give you the sad facts. Many of them failed. Dun & Bradstreet did a study that said, why is the failure happening? And what we found out was because they had lack of access to credit, they had no business skills, mentoring, or the ability to get just-in-time education, and they didn't know about their own competition. So what if we could understand what those unintended consequences are? There's a big oops here. Gender-based violence will go up dramatically when women fail. And GDP, gross domestic product, goes down. So what if we could fix that? We could decrease gender-based violence, increase GDP, and make a huge impact in the world. What if we could do it for pennies on the dollar? What if we could send it around the world and package it, the deliverables, in culturally based language, and provide those women with the tools that are kinesthetic, auditory, and visual learning? And what if we could do that today? Well, we can. The last piece of the puzzle is very simple. We don't want to go out and launch our own satellite. We don't want to go out and write our own curricula. And we certainly don't need to develop our own technology. Those things are already available. So the first thing we did is we looked at the junk in the sky. All those satellites that no longer have the jet fuel in them to keep them rotating around the Earth in the Clark Belt. Well, they're sitting sort of in the back parking lot, but they still have solar panels that allow us, if we can get the technology right, to use them to connect the world. Well, on my LinkedIn, I have a gentleman on there called David Stevens. He's part of the Green Technology Founding Group, and he's with the Technology Partners Network at Gates. He holds the patents to develop this product that won't cost $80 for your internet connection, and it will not cost $40 for the internet connection. It will cost about 8 cents a month. Now, that is a great way to connect the world. That is a great way for women to be able to get that connectivity. But it can't stop there. We have to have the software, or the hardware. So we have smartphones. Interestingly, all over the world, smartphones are easily found in just about every nation, and they're coming down in price, so that those smartphones are actually available to make a huge difference. We also have computers and iPads and PCs and laptops and all sorts of things. It's there. We don't have to reinvent it. The third piece that we need is the curricula. So we went looking around to find the very best business templates, articles, videos, information on how to start a business, how to keep a business running, how to double the employment base of business and grow jobs. And we found out that it was already done. IFC, in conjunction with the World Bank, IBM, Google, Amazon, Visa, and American Express all came together to develop the curricula in 18 languages, and it's available free. So next, we go to the cloud. Now we have to have a delivery piece here. So we looked around for the #1 software in the world. And surprisingly, it was in our own backyard in Red Bend, Washington. Dr. Vetri Valor, who is a computer scientist and a behaviorist, co-founded a company called Cronus and Cronus Software. That software has the most amazing way of connecting mentees and mentors that understands the human need to excel, to be incentivized, to need tasks and milestones and goals and connections and forums, and it's all built into the system. So we went to Dr. Valor and we said, can you help us? And after being with Oracle and Microsoft for many, many years, he said, I started this as a social business. I want to make a difference. Yes. And so we found ourselves not only with the software, the connectivity, we now had this amazing toolkit, and we were off and running. So we decided, well, let's go to the Fortune 500. In 2012, we asked them a question, and that is, what do you need most in the leadership pipeline? What we know is that women are not in the leadership pipeline in the numbers that they should be, and they are not on boards of directors, and they are not in the C-suite. How can we change that? Well, we asked them through the survey, and we got 5 items that always came to the top every time. And we call that Glean, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a minute. But what we realized is our mentees and our mentors need to get together 24/7 around the world. They need to be able to communicate not only with each other but with their peers. They need to also be able to connect for years and years and years. The reason being is we know women in business have failed themselves by not building good networks. So we ask all of our mentees and our mentors to use LinkedIn because we want to track them over the next decade. Our goal at Collective Changes is to impact 1 million women by the year 2020. And we know we can do that, but we want to track them. We want to see how they're doing. We want to see how they're managing the new jobs and the new roles that they're playing in their lives, their families, their communities, and their nations. So we also talked about what can we provide to our mentors that will help them grow into this leadership pipeline. And we decided that if we gave them enough incentives and enough positive reinforcement, that we were going to be on a winning side. Our mentors come from the unemployed, the underemployed, universities, corporations, NGOs. NGOs want their employees to find out, what does it cost to not have the jobs available, and what does it cost to have economic empowerment. So here's the magic, and it's about our deliverables. We deliver for our corporations into the leadership pipeline. We deliver achievements. For the women, they get leadership certification. Our mentees get business certification so that they can access credit, and the credit people will know that they've had the training. So we want to impact GDP. We want to see it go up. We want to see gender-based violence go down. GLEAN. GLEAN is, and I told you I'd tell you about this one, it stands for Global Mindset, Leadership Quotient. That means leading self, leading others, and yes, herding cats, leading leaders. It also means ethics. Did you know that the universities today are no longer teaching ethics, even in the Ivy League schools? And consequently, we have problems around the world because of that. And we're looking at agility thinking. Now, in agility thinking, we learn most of the time in our schools linear thinking, A, B, C, D. What we want to do is we want to let people know that it's okay if you don't get C. Skip it and go to D, and then E and F. Your job is to get to Z, because we are in a competitive world. And if we don't get to Z, we are not going to be successful in a global economy. So we need people to start thinking that you can leave a piece out, or you can run a parallel path of information. You might get it, you might not get it, but you've got to get to the end run. So GLEAN is a trademark product for us, and the N stands for negotiation and communication skills. Now, the important thing to remember here is it's a negotiation and communication virtually. We no longer have the added advantage of having that time in the office where we can meet and negotiate. We have to do it over phones or Skype or email or text messaging. So we've got to establish those wonderful opportunities. So we want to fill the leadership pipeline, and we want to use connectivity, education, software, technology, and you to make a difference in social, political, and economic stability. Thank you.